I think, as was just mentioned, we're seeing a lot of low-hanging fruit being picked, with the exception of the U.S. withdrawing from the Pacific trade deal back in 2017. But my concern is that we spent the last year talking about, Lord knows I've been on here talking about tax reform or deregulation, and we have forgotten just how radical this administration really is when it comes to trade. We have a president who thinks trade deficits cause huge job loss, when in actuality there's a correlation between job gains and trade deficits. You have Lighthizer, who doesn't even believe in the World Trade Organization, and actually I might use a bad WTO ruling on these safeguard tariffs to go after the WTO further. And then he got Peter Navarro still in the White House, who would like to dismantle and repatriate global supply chains, and maybe that's what he wants to see with NAFTA. So I think there's a tremendous amount of risk out there that we've just kind of forgotten about, since we've all been all sort of juiced up about these tax cuts.
Mr. Paul, from your organization's point of view, are you pleased with what you're seeing come out of the White House? Are you concerned about the consumer pushback if they all of a sudden go, wait a second, why am I paying more for my washing machine?
I don't see a big consumer price effect, because you already see Samsung and LG breaking ground or producing washing machines in the United States. They've been playing whack-a-mole with trade policy before. You see a Tesla gigafactory ramping up in Western New York to make solar panels. I think the supply will fill in. I think it's, as the president indicated, it's good for jobs. And I have disagreed with this administration on many things, but I think that they're channeling Ronald Reagan on trade policy. I think it's good. I think the trade deficit is a challenge, and I think we've been in a one-sided trade war for a long time. We have not pushed back and used the laws and the tools that are available to us. George Bush did it with steel. Reagan did it with cars and steel. So to me, this is nothing new. This is a continuation, and I'm glad we're back at it.
So I don't understand how it can be good for jobs to take money out of consumers' wallets.
I think the consumer price effect is wildly overestimated, and you're assuming that, cost savings are passed along to consumers in the first place. When you look back at steel tariffs that were imposed by George Bush, the ITC said there was a nominal effect on steel consumers, and much less effect than when China started consuming lots of steel a few years later, which really shocked prices. So I think we have to be careful about the philosophy on this versus what we will see are the facts on the ground. And I do think that, look, these are forward-looking industries, particularly solar. We need to be manufacturing this, and this gives our producers a chance. No one is entitled to benefit from dumped steel or subsidized product.
I grant you, on steel and aluminum, we're talking about complex supply chains. There was a lot of dumping, no doubt, on some of these commodity markets, and solar is a little unique of an issue. But washing machines, let's talk about washing machines for a second. What is the point? Just simply to push that production back in the U.S.? Is there no sense that that will be more expensive for consumers than if it's made elsewhere?
Look, I think what Whirlpool and the other claimants were saying is that they compete in a global marketplace, but they can't compete against dumped product, which was coming in. LG and Samsung, for about 4 or 5 years, were playing whack-a-mole with the trade laws. They were moving their production from Mexico and South Korea to China and then to Vietnam and Thailand. And an action like this was really the last resort. They make a competitive product, and a lot of consumers buy it. Whirlpool's the largest manufacturer in the world, and so it's not like they're seeking out protection. This was a last resort for them. I think consumers will benefit because you're going to have more companies making washing machines in the United States. Down the road, that's going to be a far better thing to have a competitive, innovative industry that's based in the United States. Will benefit from the research. You'll see that impact jobs. And again, I think that the consumer effect is wildly overstated. Meanwhile, these communities, and you already see it in Ohio, are adding back jobs, 200 manufacturing jobs, good paying jobs.
It's a novel economic theory. It's a novel economic theory that there's no consumer harm, that it'd be better if all these companies were based in the United States and we achieve no benefit from global trade. It's a novel economic theory. We're talking about these Samsung wash machines. They're going to build them in the United States. We'll see if they continue to build them in the United States.
I think they will.
The history of these trade deals is that there's some minor help for the manufacturers, but the people who buy the products, The people, in the case of commodities, who use the products get hurt. That's what we're going to see with solar panels. I know this administration doesn't have much use probably for solar power, but that's who's going to get hurt. And while these may be individual sort of again low-hanging fruit kinds of cases, again I think they sort of hint at what's coming down the line, which is more of these kinds of cases, as well as kind of an inkling of what might happen with some of these bigger things such as NAFTA.
Hey there, thanks for checking out CNBC on YouTube. Be sure to subscribe to stay up to date on all of the day's biggest stories. You can also click on any of the videos around me to watch the latest from CNBC. Thanks for watching.